It's Thursday, October 5th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. Thank you for joining us. We have a great show in store for you today. On today's show, we will get a look at tonight's Town Council meeting with Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. Then we'll learn all about the new dog park coming to Barnstable. And then we'll learn about some seabird rescues at Sadie Neck Park Beach last week with Natural Resource Officer Sean Cordes. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. Town Council meets tonight at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall hearing room. On the agenda is a presentation from Vineyard Wind. Under old business is appointments and reappointments to board, committee, and commissions. In new business, the council will approve the appointment of the new town assessor, Edward O'Neill, and they will also refer to a public hearing an appropriation and transfer order of $30,000 for the design and permitting of a town pier in 3 bays. Town Council will air live tonight at 7 p.m. right here on Channel 18. The Senior Center is now offering a 50-plus job seekers group. Funded and supported by the Massachusetts Councils on Aging, the Job Seekers Networking Group offers support and assistance for people 50-plus that are looking for a new job, new career direction, or an encore career. The group will meet on the first and third Thursday of the month from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Barnstable Senior Center. For more information, please call 508-862-4750. The Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee is hosting Fall Walking Weekend this weekend, October 6th through the 9th. There will be 2 walks hosted every day. Each walk will be led by members of the Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee or an able representative of that area. For more information on the Fall Walking Weekend, please go to the town website and click through to the Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee page. Now let's find out what's on the agenda for tonight's Town Council with Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. Thank you, Eric, so much for joining us today. Town Council meets tonight at 7 in the Town Hall hearing room, and you have a light agenda, but you're going to start things off with a presentation from Vineyard Wind. What can you tell me about this?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, Vineyard Wind is a company that's looking to do offshore wind south of the island, several miles south of the island, and they're looking to bring the transmission cables on shore. They're looking at a couple of potential sites in Barnstable, but this is our first opportunity as a council to kind of hear their presentation and what their business plan is. And they had asked a few weeks back to have an opportunity to come in, and so we'll have them in tonight and hear about their proposed project.
Interesting. This is the first I've heard of them. So
there's several companies that have popped up, and it's all much deep water. It's not as controversial as basically the defunct Cape Wind idea, which was very close to shore and just had so many issues and problems with it. And since that time, because Cape Wind goes back to 2001, it's really outdated technology at this point. Mm-hmm. But there's been several companies that have kind of popped up off Massachusetts, Rhode Island, that are looking to do offshore wind, but more of a deep water type project.
Interesting. So that would be a good thing for people to look out for if they want to learn a little bit more about what they're planning on doing. Under their old business you guys have, it's just some board, committee, and commission appointments and reappointments. So
we have some appointments to committees, commissions, and reappointments. And I will just mention that if anyone listening is interested in getting involved in local government, we rely pretty heavily on volunteers for a variety of committees and commissions that are advisory to the council. And you can go on the Town of Barnstable Town Council page, and there's a link there to see what boards and committees have vacancies, and you can get an application and apply through the Town Council office if you are interested.
Yeah, it's a great way to give back to the town, and some meetings only meet once a month, some meet twice a month, but it's definitely always looking for people that are willing to pitch in and help out. So I think that's great. Hopefully some people will go on and see who's got openings, and maybe they'll find something that interests them.
Yes, absolutely.
Under new business, we have a new director of assessing that's coming on board.
Yep, we'll be ratifying his new position. Jeff Resniak retired a few months back here, and so we're looking forward to Ed coming on board. We also recently have a new building commissioner as well, so we went through this process for that position just probably about, I want to say, just in the last 6 weeks or so. So we have some really qualified, great new staff coming on board, and we're looking forward to working with them.
That's wonderful. The last piece that you guys have under new business is the appropriation and transfer order for a town pier in the 3 bays. This is being referred to a public hearing on October 19th. What can you tell me about this?
Yeah, that kind of ties into we're working pretty diligently on obviously wastewater management, clean water initiatives, and that goes to dredging is one of the things that we're going to be doing, and the 3 bays area is an area of importance, and it's a priority area to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep those waters and estuaries clean. So having a staging area for dredging, for the waterways, and also for maintaining the natural flushing of the abatements, but also having a location where the BPD, Barnstable Police Department, could have a boat to kind of assist in any situation out in the 3 bays area. So it'd just be a good access point for municipal work, dredging, public safety, perhaps even aquaculture, which we want to introduce more of once we kind of get through several steps here. But this will go to a public hearing, and there'll be a study to kind of determine a good location. It's going to be very diligent and thorough. But also, this kind of follows on the heels of the director of DPW's presentation at the last meeting, which talked about our dredging program going forward, and we are going to earmark money each year. We're about almost 10 years behind in our maintenance dredging. So we're going to spend some money, probably up close to $2 million a year, to catch up and to maintain our waterways, and also help with the flushing of our abatements, which will help with nitrogen loading and be one of the pieces that's going to solve any issues we have with our waters. All
very important things, especially here in our coastal community here in Barnstable. So Town Council meets tonight at 7. Have a great meeting, and thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
My guest today is Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. Coming up, we will talk about seabird rescues with Natural Resource Officer Sean Cordes. But first, we will learn all about the new dog park with Friends of Barnstable Dog Parks President Elaine Grace. Elaine, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Sarah.
Yes, and we're going to talk about the dog park. I know a lot of people have noticed down at Hathaway's Pond, there's been some clearing, getting ready for the dog park that's coming in. Everyone is very excited about it. So the Friends of Barnstable Dog Parks started a few years ago to help try to raise funds and see what we could do about a dog park. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
The initial meeting was in February of 2011.
Oh, wow.
And our first challenge was finding a site. Mm-hmm. And we looked at Danforth, we looked all around. We had some neighborhood issues, not in my backyard.
Yep.
Gotta admit that. And we've discovered the property on Finney's Lane next to Hathaway's, and it seemed agreeable to everybody, including the current town councilor, Ann Kennedy, and she was very supportive. And so we found a site, we developed bylaws, we incorporated, and then we sat and waited for a while. And in May of 2013, thanks to Patty Machado from Recreation, she gave us some information on Stanton Foundation, which gives grants up to $250,000 to develop dog parks. So we did a proposal and started working with them, and the one prerequisite was the town had to agree to be involved. Mm-hmm. And then we sat and waited a little longer.
It's kind of how things go.
Yeah, but it's all good. It's all good.
And you got a grant from the Stanton Foundation
for
the full $250,000, which is amazing. That's right there. I mean, that's a That's a good chunk of change to build a dog park.
It is,
Yeah.
and the good part is they also offer a second grant after the first year to go back in and do either maintenance or additional work. I know some of the other dog parks in Massachusetts have gone back and done additional parking or additional fencing, or one of the things is shade structures. Most people didn't think about shade.
Yeah, there's always stuff that comes up after the fact that you think of. Once something is open, you go, oh, we should have done this, or oh, it'd be great if we could do that. So that's great that they offer that, you know.
Stanton also did a seminar last year for people who are in the process, people who had already done it. And it was kind of a best practices, and we went with Lynn Poyant and Keith McKenzie, Betty, who was the town architect at the time, and we learned a lot about design and what to do, what not to do.
Yep.
And one of the good things we learned there was Agawam put a walking trail around the park. So if you have a dog that's a little reluctant to go right in, you can kind of walk them around the perimeter. And the other thing is you can put your dog in and you can walk.
Right.
And I think Agawam actually paced it off, so it's, you know, so many times around equals a mile.
Oh, that's
so,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys had a part in the design process.
We did.
Which
we
is
did.
awesome. Are there some things that you're looking forward to people seeing in the dog park that, like you said, like
the walking track? I think we're trying to keep as many trees as we can. One of the things, one of our committee members would like to see would be like a wooden bench, maybe around some of the shade trees, so you can sit.
Yeah.
Mashpee has stone, and the only problem they're having is the dogs get up on the stone and then they pee on the trees.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, you know, some space between the tree and the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably be a good idea.
Yeah. So it's a process of learning best practice. They're doing it again this year, and I think Lynn is going again.
Yeah.
So
you have to learn some new things and figure things out for the future of the dog parks, and maybe another dog park in the future, because it's the Friends of Barnstable Dog Parks. So there could be, hopefully, in the future, another park in town.
One never knows.
You never know. So
we'll get this one done first.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also wanted to mention that on top of the Stanton Foundation grant that you guys received, you guys also fundraised a very large chunk of money on your own, $40,000.
We did just about everything you could. We did a couple of wine and cheese auctions, and that was a lot of work. One of our members, Mary Bassing, put that on a couple of years in a row, and it was a lot of work. It did raise a lot of money. Initially, we put out a membership drive, and we got a lot of $20 memberships. Lifetime was $100. And we did bake sales, dog washes, car washes, dog and car washes. What else do we do? I made some notes.
If you could do it to raise money, you guys did it.
We did. We sat at village festivals. We've done open streets since that came into being, and you know, we can't sell anything, but we had a donation jar. We had donation jars in some of the veterinarian hospitals. We did wristbands, beads for, you know, paw beads. What else do we do? Oh, sweatshirts.
And T-shirts, like the one you're wearing.
And T-shirts, yes.
Are you still selling those?
We are.
Nice.
We are. And they're very nice, I have to say. Good quality. And let's see what else. That's about it.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing a membership drive.
Nice.
Again. we're not sure whether we want to do membership or just a donation drive. We haven't quite figured that out.
Yeah.
And because we are going to need to replenish the treasury for ongoing maintenance. And let's see, what else?
And you think we
Nobody likes fundraising,
No,
but it's
we
necessary
have to
evil.
do it.
Yeah.
So we have 2 things left we want to mention. The town clerk's office wanted us to remind everybody that all dogs in the town of Barnstable need to be licensed in the town clerk's office wherever you live. And if you're going to be using the dog park next spring when it opens, hopefully your dog will need to be licensed.
Definitely.
So make sure you get that done. And we also wanted to mention you guys have a website.
We do.
www.barnstabledogparks.org.
We also have an email, which is cbdpvol@gmail.com, and we're on Facebook as well.
So if you want any more information
or you'd like to donate.
These are all the places you can go. Elaine, thank you so much for coming in and
Sarah, I appreciate
telling us all about the dog park. I know so many dog owners in the town are very
excited
about this. So.
We are excited, and I think the benefit is it is an asset to the town, especially to visitors and older people who, they can go with their dogs and then they bond as, friends. And
it's a social thing.
It is a social thing.
Having a dog is definitely a social thing because you're walking down the street and someone goes, "Oh, your dog's so cute," and then you end up having a conversation.
Oh, it's Holly's mother.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's so great. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Okay.
My guest today is Elaine Gray. She's the president of the Friends of Barnstable Dog Parks. Joining me now on the phone is Natural Resource Officer Sean Cordes. Thank you, Sean, so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk about a little bit about the storm that we had last week. I know it caused a couple of issues out at Sandy Neck. We've had light erosion and some bird stranding. So let's start with the front beach. How is that looking right now?
Good overall. So yeah, the storm lasted, for a pretty long period of time. The way it hit, we got a lot of northeast wind, so very similar to our standard nor'easters we get in the off season in the winter, but sort of drawn out for a long period of time. Overall, the beach did well. The dunes themselves, very minimal erosion. The front beach, however, the off-road vehicle corridor, did lose quite a bit of sand, so it's in more of a winter profile now, which means the higher areas where you drive, where there's a clearly delineated berm and an obvious toe of the dune, all of those have sort of blended together. It's just a low slope down to the water, so the sand's a lot softer, a little harder to see where the proper spots are to park and where to drive, but it's pretty natural, and that'll build itself back up again as we get more southeast wind into next year.
Okay. If anybody's planning on heading out to Sandy Neck, do you have any tips for them if they're going to go on the off-road trail?
Yeah, I'd say just to drive in the standard tracks that you see out there. The tracks are laid down, in the right spot. There's not a fence line anymore to keep people out from going higher, but it is pretty apparent, where you shouldn't be driving in that sense. And then just keeping an eye on the tides as far as parking, because at this point, even a 10-foot high tide can cut off some spots in the beach, and it comes up pretty fast because there is just a very minimal slope. So if you're around at high tide on the beach, you just really want to keep an eye out on where your vehicle is.
Okay, good to know. We also wanted to talk about, you guys had some bird rescues that you did during the storm last week. I know you've rescued quite a few gannets and some other birds. What can you tell me about this?
Yeah, so most of the birds that we rescued are seabirds, or pelagic species of birds, which means they spend the majority of their life out in the open ocean. So a lot of these birds, really the only time that you'd see them on land is on some islands and areas like that where they might nest, but otherwise they're flying above over the open ocean and actually landing in the water to rest. So what happens is when we get a lot of these storms, especially up here, it's the nor'easter style storm. These birds sort of get pulled in by the wind, and they're fighting the wind for a long period of time. they start to get tired, sort of stressed out, and they can't necessarily land in the water because the surf's really high and it's pretty dangerous, and they're still going to be fighting the elements. So after a long period of time, especially in this case where we had about 4 or 5 days of northeast wind, they start to get grounded on our beaches and marshes, and even in some cases out in the middle of the road in Hyannis.
Oh, wow.
And they have to land because they're tired and they need rest. But unfortunately, these birds have not adapted to sort of be on land. They don't know how to take off from land, or they can't really efficiently take off from many of these areas. So ultimately, if they're not rescued and brought to a proper rehab facility, they'll either succumb to the elements or stress out too much and ultimately die. So it's been we've been doing a lot of work over the course of that storm last week in rescuing many of these birds that were on the beach or in the dunes or in the marsh, and capturing them and getting them over to Cape Wildlife. We can't thank enough for all the work that they've done to help us getting these birds back out into the wild. So even in many cases, especially with these gannets, they look like they have a lot of energy, and they'll still, defend themselves pretty good and fight back. But ultimately, if they don't get that care, then they would end up dying. So far from what I've seen, it's been really pretty successful. I know they've already released quite a few of the gannets back out to sea, which was awesome to see.
Yeah.
We also have shearwaters and northern fulmar and petrels, Jaegers, all sorts of seabirds that can end up in here. And throughout the winter, from these sort of storms. So if anybody's out on the beaches and they see these birds that look like they're in need of help, we certainly encourage them to, if they're in the town of Barnstable, to call Natural Resources, or if they're at Sandy Neck, to call Sandy Neck, and we'll, respond and help try and rescue those birds and get them the proper care that they need.
Interesting. I didn't know a lot about seabirds, and as you said, they're pelagic birds because they live out on the sea. I didn't know a lot about them, so it's great to know that, we had the video that you had, and the bird looked, really lively and trying to get away from you, but it definitely does not have the energy it needs to get back out to sea. So it's important for you guys to do that. And like you said, Cape Wildlife is such a help rehabilitating these birds and getting them back out. It was interesting seeing they did a release, and you guys were still, saving a few more birds while they were also releasing some. So
yeah, exactly. It's been excellent. So.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Sean, so much for chatting with us today and letting us know about how you guys fared through the storm last week and some of the bird rescues you've been doing. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye. My guest today is Natural Resource Officer Sean Cordes. Now let's get a look at this week's community calendar. The Osterville Village Library is hosting a fall festival on Saturday, October 7th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The events happening at the fall festival are a dog parade at 10 a.m., cupcake decorating where you can decorate cupcakes to look like dogs at 10:30. 12 to 2 there will be children's activities including create a costume, arts and crafts, read with a pirate, and so much more. For more information you can visit www.ostervillefreelibrary.org. This is the last weekend you can visit the High Art Shanties at Bismarck Park. They will be open through Monday, so get down to the harbor and enjoy those local artists for the last time until next year. Town Council meets tonight at 7 p.m. and will air live right here on Channel 18. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with another great show for you. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.